privilege to welcome the greatest entertainer of all time. Here is Mr. Bob Hope.
Thank you. Thank you, darling. Thank you. Thank you. Hi, Bob.
Welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you. I told him, I said, don't look like they're holding me up.
You know, Bob, no matter how many times I've been on stage with you, I've always been impressed with the fact that when you walk out, whether it's the state fair, on your television program, wherever you are, you always get a standing ovation. How does that feel?
You'll never know.
Bob, welcome. we wanted
Thank you, Bob.
We wanted you to feel at home.
How many times have I told you that?
Well, about 16 years at the Ohio State Fair. Bob once got mad at me when he came on the show because I kept trying to get you into your act.
Yeah.
Ask you the questions that you do in your nightclub act. You'd never let me, you never do that for me.
Right, right.
Bob, this book has been out less than a month, and already you're on the bestseller list of the New York Times. Did you expect it to be taking over that quickly?
No, we're pretty lucky, but Putnam has done a great job with this thing. They really have. The advertising and everything, it's just been sensational because I haven't done that much work on it. I've only been on a few things, you know. I signed 400 books a few minutes ago over Brentanos.
Yeah,
and we had Crown books before that, but I've only done a couple of things for it, and they sold it.
See, I was concerned about that. I got up this morning and opened the paper and it said Bob Hope will be appearing, and it gave the times you would be there, and I thought, now wait a minute. You had a morning open, you couldn't play golf, you had to do something this morning? Don't you ever get tired?
Yes, I do. You see those girls carrying me out here?
We did that just to make you feel at home.
I know.
Bob, this book tells about probably the most important times in our country, talking about World War II, talking about Korea, Viet Nam, and more recently your trip back to Moscow for a third time, I believe. But this book had to be written. Nobody could write it but you. But I'm surprised at all the memories in here that you quote verbatim, where you were and who you talked with.
Well, that's all been documented, you know, and Mel Shavelson, one of my original writers in 1938, and I had the greatest writing staff I think ever known when I went into radio. And Mel remembered a lot of this stuff and all the jokes and stuff we had in the files, you know. So we put it together outside of some extra things that we wrote in there.
Well, as I read it, I recognized some of the monologues, having heard the radio show or having had seen the television program, and it's exactly the way it happened. But the thing I like about this book that I'd like to tell all of our viewers today is that while you have chronologized the activities that you did with the gypsies through here, you still keep it in the present tense. You still talk about things that are going on today in 1990.
Because I'm packed. I'm ready to go.
Just in case the phone rings, you're ready to go again. Bob, how did you feel when you made that first trip, the first trip for the USO with the gypsies?
Well, you know, it all happened kind of, it's all in there, but we were doing radio in 1938 at Sunset and Vine, see? And the producer said, they want you down at March Field in Riverside. I said, what for? There's no war, and I didn't know. It was an Air Force base. I didn't know about it. They said, well, I didn't know we had a brother down there. And I found myself on a bus the next Tuesday with Jerry Colonna and Francis Langford and Skinny Ennis in the band, and we did the show, and the audience was so sensational. I said, wait a minute, how long has this been going on? And the next week we went to Camp Pendleton, then San Diego Naval Base, and of course in December the war was declared and then became dramatic. And then we just stayed on for about 5 years, traveling all over the world or something.
Well, one of the things I found in the book is that you never stayed too far behind the lines. You were right up in the fire quite a few times.
Well, they took pretty good care of us all the time.
I know there's one story in here where the guy on the floor kept saying, move to the left, move a little bit to the left, and you didn't know why till you saw the videotape or the film of the performance, and there was a Viet Cong back there with a gun aimed at you.
Some of the places, and you have to be very careful in South Pacific, what side of the stage you exit on, because if you exited left, you were captured.
One thing you told about in here that I had never heard before, and that was you were in an airplane crash where you were flying the plane. And one of the engines went out, and they said, get him out of the chair.
That was a little ridiculous.
Yeah,
I was going into Sydney, Australia.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you landed in
The
a
one
lake.
motor went out, and I'm at the controls. And the other man wasn't there, the co-pilot wasn't there. They were both, can you imagine letting me up there with a Navy Catalina, and I'm flying that plane. Of course, I flew a lot of planes, but I didn't know that much. I had a little trouble landing.
It wasn't your fault, though, that the engine went out. You didn't really
No,
crash
I had
the
nothing
plane.
to do with that. I spit out that way once, but I don't think I bothered. Anyway, he came flying up there, and he said, get out of there. And I flew out of there, and he said, jettison everything on this plane. And we threw everything overboard, and he landed on a little lake. There was they'd never seen a plane there, this little lake. And we're all out on the wing kissing each other and hugging each other that we made it. And then the guy rode out from the shore. He looked up us at the wing and said, do you have any American cigarettes there?
That was his first question?
Yeah. After we made this wonderful recovery, you know.
Well, we're going to show some clips right now that show you entertaining thousands, and indeed over the years, millions of servicemen and women all over the world. We want you to take a look and see if this doesn't bring back some very fond memories to you. And I think it'll let you know what Don't Shoot, It's Only Me is all about. Watch.
I just want to ask you one thing. Did you guys come here to see me? Well, who'd you come to see then? All right, let's hear it for him. Bob Hope. Where are we? Diego Garcia, huh? That's a little embarrassing because we started out for Honolulu. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, here we are in Naples, one of the command headquarters of NATO. NATO, that's a Latin term meaning get your cotton-picking hands off my border. Very happy to be back here. Achukuchi. Kuchi, that's Vietnamese for you want it, you can have it. Thank you very much. Here we are in West Berlin, ladies and gentlemen. West Berlin, that's a PX surrounded by Russians. Nice to be here at On Cave. Nice spot. Keep the motor running, huh? Yes, sir. Guantanamo's a Navy term meaning I hear you knocking, but you can't come in. Hey, we're thrilled to be here at Osan Air Base, Korea. Osan, that's Korea for take it and stuff it. You know, 2 years ago I visited Berlin. You know what a mess that is. Last year I visited Cuba. You know what a disaster that became. This year they sent me here. Good luck, man. Great to be here. This year we're in beautiful Nam Phang, Thailand. Nam Phang, that's a Thai expression meaning you only have one, so keep it close to the ground. Happy to be here. I don't know where the hell we are, but I'm happy.
Those were just a few of the opening monologues of the Gypsies. Bob, you've known all the leading ladies in Hollywood. You've starred with them, Lucille Ball, all the others, and I could sit here and talk about Lana Turner and all the beautiful women. Who among those you've worked with stands out in your mind most, or who do you think about most?
They all stand out, Bob. There's no way you could, you know, I did a lot of shows with Dorothy Lamour, of course.
Oh, sure.
And Lucy. But they're all great. I mean, all of them. Anne Margaret and Raquel Welch. And you said I made a lot of girls. What is that?
No, I said...
Didn't he say that?
Well, that's the one thing you left out of the book I wanted to know. You weren't doing shows all the time.
I was busy. No, but they're all great. I know, and they loved it. You know, I took the Gold Diggers 3 years, and the first trip back with them, coming into Van Nuys, and this one Gold Digger said, "Let's go again." She wanted to go right now.
Right on back.
Right away.
Dolores wouldn't have been too thrilled with that.
Okay.
How did she feel about all of this, with all these romantic women in these movies and all these gorgeous, like Miss USA, Miss America, that you took on the road with
She
you?
knew it was a patriotic gesture, and how else could you get your wife to say "Bon voyage" when you get on the plane with those gorgeous
But she
gals?
also went with you a few
Sure
times,
she
too.
did. Sure she did. She came over there with my daughter Nora to Thailand, never dreaming, you know, that she'd work, because she was over there just to look around the Far East, and she sat out in the audience with Rosie O'Donnell and Stuart Symington, and I introduced him and introduced her, and the kids applauded, so she got on stage and sang "White Christmas" and wiped them out.
Oh, right on the spot.
And they said, you got to do it every show, and she did it. She went right with the thing and did it every show. And those shows have a way of inflating your head, you know, they're so great. But about the 4th show she was on, I was standing in the wings when she walked off. She said, don't clutter up the exit, boy.
You were standing in her light, huh? Bob, getting back to the book, you talk in here about many shows that you did. You cover like a blanket, most all of them that really stand out in your mind. The one that impressed me the most was the one that you did for the 1st Marine Division on that little island where they had been training.
Yeah, that was some sequence. You know, it was called Bonica, this little island. And we finished the show there, and a guy walked up to me and he said, you know, there are 15,000 Marines in the 1st Marine Division over here at Pavuvu, and if you could come over there and do the show, they've been training for 6 months to go into this invasion, which turned out to be Peleliu. He said, if you could come over there and entertain, it would be the greatest thing in the world. I said, well, how do we get there? He said, well, you have to take Piper Clubs because there's no runway. You have to land on the road. And there was 8 of us in the unit. We took one in each Piper Cub, and we flew over there, and the kids, 15,000 of them were waiting outside. And every time a plane flew, they'd go, hey, you know, and the plane would just seem to rise. And we did this show, and it was the most dramatic show I ever did because you knew these kids were going to invade this place. And as it worked out, 60% of them were knocked off. And when you're standing on the stage, there's something else entertaining those guys because you know a hell of a lot of them you'll never see again.
How did you keep this from getting to you?
It's just, you know, you do it, that's all. And later on, when I was in Korea, and I was in Pyongyang with our group in about 1957, and I heard that the 1st Marine Division was going to be in Wonsan. That's a port in North Korea. Mm-hmm. And I called Tokyo and I said, can I go over there? They said, yeah, you can go over there on a certain date at a certain time, and you can entertain the 1st Marine Division. So we took our plane, Les Brown and the band, I forget Jane Mansfield and who else was with us, Marilyn Maxwell, flew over there, and there was one Jeep there, and it took us, Les Brown and myself, over to the hangar, and the rest of them came over. I was standing there for about 20 minutes, and General Almond, the head man of the whole bit there, Admiral Struble, and he said about 10 of them walked up, and General Almond shook my hand. He said, when'd you get here? I said, we got here 20 minutes ago. He said, hell, we just made the landing. I said, you're kidding. He said, so we beat the Marines to the beach, you know? And I walked out in that hangar. I said, I want you at all my landings, fellas. And they went, boo.
Don't you get a little lonesome around Christmas time when you're not packing up to go somewhere?
Oh, no, it's great. Just great.
We're going to be back with Bob, and I want to talk to him about a special trip he took to Turkey for a Christmas show that he almost didn't make because he had major problems, and I'll tell you that story in just a moment with Bob.